When I was in my 20s, I traveled to Florence on a one-year study abroad program. I went to complete a language requirement and also to become more connected to my roots. Within a few months, I started dating an Italian named Giuseppe. I was supposed to meet him for the first time with friends at a disco one night, but he never showed. At least that's what I thought. We managed to hook up a few weeks later, and after we slept together, he confessed that he had been there that first night after all, but when he saw me, he decided he wasn't interested, and he left. A tip for all the men out there. Don't tell a woman that. Still, we managed to fall in love. And by the end of the year, I moved in, and I called my folks to say I wasn't coming home. There we are. They were surprised, but they shouldn't have been, because I had gone to college to major in drama and was told, that is not an option. Now here I was with a degree in American Studies, working on a master's in English after refusing to enter law school, halfway around the world, drawing a line in the Italian sand. If I couldn't pursue my dream, I had no reason to come home. Giuseppe was very friendly and likable and laughed a lot. He worked as a hotel clerk. He owned his own apartment. Like all Italian men, he liked to look at other women. A natural behavior for men, which is why when we can, we make them face the wall in restaurants. In Italy, looking at other women is an art and a compliment, especially if you're the woman being looked at. When you're the woman with the man who's paying the compliment, it feels a little crappy, which is my way of saying we had cultural differences from the start. It turns out being Italian and being Italian-American is about as similar as salami and head cheese. When school ended, I started working as a bartender at night and as an English teacher during the day. The fantasy of living abroad soon settled into routine because, as we all know, it's hard to maintain a fantasy forever, which is why most women shave less after they're married. It's a cheap joke. This undoing of fantasy was well underway when, a few years in, Giuseppe and I decided to travel to his hometown Naples for the Christmas holiday. We arrived in Naples via train and then took a smaller commuter train to Giuseppe's neighborhood. As we walked to his family's modest home, he pointed out the large pipes that lay in the streets. The pipes would never get laid underground, he told me, because once the mafia won the contract, and they always did, they had no intention of ever finishing the job. He told me in Naples, at least in his small corner of it, you either joined the mafia or you left town. When we got to his house, I met his folks and his brother and sister, all lovely and welcoming, and not a one in the mafia. Because there was no place to put us, his parents so graciously and so uncomfortably for me said that they would sleep on the cots in the living room so that we could have their bedroom. Of course, I insisted on the cots, but no amount of protesting worked. I also insisted to Giuseppe that we refrain from sex in their home, in their bedroom, in their very own bed. But Giuseppe said that they want us to do it. Or something equally ridiculous to get into my pants. Who knows? Maybe they did. Maybe having an American in the family was some kind of fantasy for them. Or maybe Giuseppe didn't care what his parents thought, which is a healthy way to live when you're an adult and not living in their home, but disrespectful when you're lying in bed with your girlfriend and a boner. Things got even more uncomfortable when I went to the bathroom. I noticed the large metal wash basin on the floor when I walked in, but I didn't pay that much attention to it until I sat down on the toilet. And then I saw them. Long, slimy, black eels, swimming in circles in the water inside it. As if traveling isn't constipating enough, try using the bathroom next to a basin of live eels. When I left, I felt the need to alert the others, beware the bathroom. It's been overtaken by eels. No, they assured me, they're for dinner. I hope I was polite enough in that moment to smile and say, oh, never mind. Or maybe laugh out loud and say, well, I never expected that. But I don't think I did either. I think I stood there with my mouth open, horrified. Using the bathroom in front of something you're about to kill and have for Christmas dinner just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know about anybody else, but if I had to take a poop in front of a goose before I beheaded it and plucked it for my holiday pleasure, I'd probably just let the thing go. I've never eaten food that I've met before. Like, I'm not saying I bonded with the eels, but I did expose myself to them. As a kid, I remember trips to the East Coast to visit my grandparents and my Uncle Jimmy, who would take me and my brothers and sisters fishing. We'd get picked up early in the morning, drive to the boat, and go out on the river. Then we'd sit on the boat and hold poles that my uncle baited and dropped into the water for us. We'd eat scrambled eggs and pepper sandwiches that my grandma packed for us. We'd wait. Eventually, one of us would get a bite and attempt to reel the fish in. And then when the fish got close to the boat, my uncle would take over and pull it in. And together we'd watch it, flop around a few times on the deck till it exhausted itself. And then my uncle would grab the fish, pull the hook out of its mouth, and place it in his cooler. And that was it. He'd take the fish home and clean them, I suppose. And maybe he ate them. I don't remember. I don't think so. To this day, I've never even dropped a live lobster into a boiling pot. That afternoon, my host invited me into the kitchen with a smile on their face. I'd get a kick out of this, they said. I followed the mom into the kitchen while the dad went to the bathroom to retrieve the basin. I stood on one side of the table. On the other side, Giuseppe's mom waited with a gigantic cleaver in her hand. Giuseppe's dad arrived with the basin. A nod between them signaled ready, and one by one, Giuseppe's dad scooped up each eel and dropped it onto the table. As quick as he set it down, Giuseppe's mom lifted her cleaver and chopped the poor thing into 2-inch pieces as fast as she could before it slithered away. The bloody pieces continued to wiggle, and without even a moment of silence for the sacrifice, his mom quickly swept them into a bowl with her cleaver. Then came out another eel, and the execution continued. This happened over and over and over again. It was like the 12 days of Christmas. But bloodier and just eels. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me an eel chopped in bloody pieces. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me an eel chopped in pieces and an eel chopped in bloody pieces. No, I won't do the whole song, but you get the idea. Later that night, I sat at that same table, its bloody residue covered with a tablecloth, while Giuseppe's dad said a prayer to Christ and to family and to their American guest, but nothing about the eels. Not even a word. These eels who gave their lives for our dinner. It just didn't seem right. A moment later, Giuseppe's mom got up and presented the eels to me first. Here they were, the sacrificed eels in their Christmas glory, wrapped in a golden deep-fried breading, which usually makes anything delicious, and arranged on a platter. I stared at them and I shook my head. I didn't want one. I didn't even pretend to want one. All I could think was, I hate eels. I hate cleavers. I hate Christmas in Naples. And I don't even like my boyfriend that much anymore. Later, I lay in bed, drunk from wine, and Giuseppe said to me, "Why'd you drink so much tonight?" And I said, "To forget I'm with you." It was meant to be a joke. In the same way, every line of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is meant to be a joke. But it isn't. It's a cleaver meant to chop through flesh and bone. I think it's the meanest thing I ever said, and I said it on Christmas. The next morning, we headed back to Florence. That winter, I talked about returning to America to finish my degree and start acting. Sogni di pipa, Giuseppe said. Pipe dreams. Later that spring, we got into a big fight after a party, and he said, "You're not as pretty as you think you are." I packed my bags a few weeks later. There are some cultural differences you can ride for a while, like always looking at other women. But not believing in dreams, that was my new line in the sand.
VAMP first timer Lisa Pedace.